Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Cracking the Cryptic on Steam, which is a free-to-play game from 2022 from Studio Goya, which has about 6 other Sudoku games listed. Now, Cracking the Cryptic is most known as the phrase of a YouTuber's channel, and I imagine this free-to-play game is the play-along app to do the puzzles that he is doing on his channel. We can see here it is still being actively updated as of the recording. Today is February 4th when I record this, and we can see a February 3rd recording. So I just played a game called Sudoku Universe, and it's Sudoku puzzles, but I was constantly comparing it to Cracking the Cryptic's own apps in kind of a negative light, because it's just missing some of the features that I know these Studio Goya games, published and developed games, seem to have. Here we have a possibility here of only 3 puzzles for free to play, and then there's some DLC. I know. We have a video here, setting of 1080p in full screen. And what's interesting about this is you're seeing that they're making it fairly large, not trying to just make it feel like a Windows options menu. Like, I think most games should probably move away from that you should just have fairly dynamic scaling. Now, it is a little weird to say 1920 by 1080 and then have a large gap here, but it fills the screen nicely. And then we have some themes here where we have blue waves instead of a more simplistic color gamut, which is what Sudoku Universe offered. Although, in fairness, you're still not seeing a full-on color picker. And I would say this icon is very wrong for what it actually is depicting. And I don't know if you really need a title bar like that. And I don't know how that's really going to play. This one is really much more of a color gamut, and making this icon also wrong. And this one's more of a color gamut. I still would like a color picker where I could just pick specific elements. But I do think the blue in the background with slight motion might be very doable. Noticeably, there is no audio playing right now. And then gamepad, inputs here. We have a puzzle layout that could be a number pad where the numbers are laid out in 3 rows of 3 with tools on the left and right of the numbers. Traditional numbers are all in 1 row and tools are in the 2nd row. So we'll play with that. The control method here can be select 1 or more cells, then clicking a number with the selection method, clicking a number or color or tool to apply those to those cells, or you could be a tool, select a number, color, or tool, then click on a cell to apply them. So it seems like you have click first or click last. Performance here can be either battery saver mode, which that's great for any puzzle game if you can possibly try to save batteries. It's doing that by greatly lowering the frame rate with no input is detected and no animations are playing. Or it can just always run at high frames per second, which if you're going to put a game like this on the Steam Deck, that would be very helpful. We're going to very quickly need to see like special modes for all Steam games or something built into the Steam client itself to try and save more battery. While the Steam Deck is great, it is still, much like the Nintendo Switch, a console that really can only be played for 4 or 5 hours at most before you need to recharge it. And that is a far cry from the 6 to 8 hours for a hardcore gaming session that you might want to do, if not longer. Particularly if you're in a scenario where you have only a few hours to play a game, say playing on the weekends. you don't want to bump into your having to plug in and recharge. The highlight errors options here are to highlight all errors should be highlighted. Duplicated should only be highlighted, which means obvious errors would only be highlighted, or off, which would mean nothing is highlighted. They're going to start with all errors. Maybe that's a little cheaty, but it's not that cheaty. It's just a video game version of Sudoku actually helping you. Double notation enables both corners and center notes at the same time, where a single notation, each cell can either have a corner or a center note, but not both. So you're getting a lot more rules here and explanations for settings, which is just not in Sudoku Universe. A lot of these options aren't in there. Auto remove restricted notes can be on. When on or placing a number will remove the number as a note in all cells that it sees. That means if you mark something as an 8, everything to the left, to the right, up and above, and in the same 3x3 grid will remove any notes. I was calling these pencil marks when playing Sudoku Universe. Default multi-center cell entry. When multiple cells are selected with the full number tool active, numbers will be entered as corner notes, center notes, or full notes, which means when you select multiple things, they become corner notes, not center notes, which would, corner notes would be one way to mark, center notes is a different way to mark, and then full numbers is your guess. So several options here, and should we really even go through all of them? Because this just continues to scroll down, and this is what I wanted to highlight, and I'm probably doing a pretty terrible job of highlighting restricted notes. When select group one or more cells, highlight all cells that can be seen. That is a feature that was in Sudoku Universe, but most of these we've seen so far don't have direct equivalents. Highlight matching numbers for filled cells and notes. So you have this like default settings for Cracking the Cryptic that gives you a lot more features. Note size can be standard or large. We'll want to play with that and see if that helps. You have a timer you can turn on or off, and to erase you can tap partially or hold full, choosing between tapping to partially clear selected cells and holding to erase to fully clear selected cells, or tapping to fully clear and holding to partially clear. So you can just reverse those two options. And then there are special number pad modes. So if you want to erase a position in number pad mode, you press bottom left. This is whether you want to put the erase button on the bottom left or under the 9-digit, probably in the interface. And then you can flip the number pad layout to move the numbers to being closer to what you might expect on an old type calculator. And then we're playing with traditional layout, which lets you flip more things. And then there are even more additional options as far as cell selection while dragging. Lets you select multiple cells. And you could switch that to selecting only the first cell and selecting only the last cell. Number entry when noted cells. When entering a number in a cell containing one or more notes, you can either fill the cell to apply the number, remove the note, or fill the cell if it is the last note, which that would be a little bit of an assist. But by default it's fill cell. And then you can display an X in a cell in noted and empty cells only. When marking a cell with an X, it chooses whether to display it always or only when a cell is empty, or when the cell either contains notes or is empty. So that's just way more settings than Sudoku Universe has. At least for the gameplay, and that's where you're going to spend the vast majority of your time playing a puzzle game. And then this was the very first thing I recognized that was a problem with Sudoku Universe and Cracking the Cryptic, and I imagine all 6 of their other games that actually do sell for money. Yeah. I imagine they all have the same similar settings. Maybe when you're doing killer Sudoku puzzles in particular, the settings might change a little bit, or when you're doing a different kind of variant on Sudoku, the settings might change a little bit, but I imagine they all have a how to play, and this is what you need. Now, the fact that Cracking the Cryptic has a YouTube channel, I find it a little weird that you wouldn't just embed a YouTube video on how to play and have someone talk instead of putting text here, but in all fairness, it does seem to me like you're at least getting a decent amount of explanation here as far as what classic Sudoku rules are, and they're trying to keep them somewhat concise. Although weirdly, they bold and have a title here for Classic Sudoku and Domino Sudoku, which is apparently a combination of 2 other variants called Crop Key and XV Sudoku, and then they give you rules for XV Sudoku, and I'm not sure if they even explain what Crop Key is. And there are more variants than that. That's probably just an indicator that the games in this free-to-play Cracking the Cryptic are only going to be classic and Domino Sudoku puzzles. There's obviously other variants, and I think they're constantly making puzzles, so you have this constant commitment to having new challenges with Cracking the Cryptic and Studio Goya games that I don't believe any other Sudoku developer is really going to be able to commit to on Steam, and that inherently indicates that you should play Studio Goya Sudoku games if you're going to play any Sudoku games. We have tips and tricks here, and they're definitely, when I was playing Sudoku Universe, I could have used some tips and tricks. Here they're explaining some tricks specific to Domino Sudoku, which I'm going to mostly just ignore these tips at the moment and try and jump into the game as quickly as possible. I know this is taking forever, so they want to also highlight the tools so you know what they're talking about. When they say full number mode, it's going to take a full number. When they say corner number mode, then the 1 here is marked in the corner, and then the 5 and 8 are marked in the center, whereas center note mode, all 1, 5, 8 are marked in the center. Highlighter mode lets you change colors. And I know eventually they started to let you draw boxes around certain sections and change the background colors of certain sections, and also have multiple colors in the background and draw lines. This is your multiple selection tool, this is your eraser, this is your undo, this is your redo. Pretty basic stuff. Notably, I don't think you need to really use a keyboard, but we do have numbers and keyboard inputs, considerably more keyboard inputs than what Sudoku Universe had. And you really just need that. You absolutely need that kind of setup to try and power through doing a Sudoku and not making mistakes. When I was playing Sudoku Universe, I screwed up terribly. I'd make mistakes. The game was not helping me find and figure out that I'd made a mistake. And once I'd made even one mistake, it was practically impossible for me to succeed. Now, this is a free to start game, obviously. So the Lines variety is DLC. The Gas Volume 1, Gas Volume 2 is DLC. But there are 23 free packs for 500,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel, and 7 variety packs. And then there are 3 Domino Sudoku sample puzzles. So let's start, I guess, with the free packs, which would have probably been here from the beginning. It is interesting that most of the Studio Goya Sudoku games have come out before this game came out. So this really was being put out as a free teaser. This was yet another issue that I felt like was a problem with Sudoku Universe when you compare it to Cracking the Cryptic, in that the puzzles did not have names, they did not have credits to who made them, and they didn't tell you what kind of puzzles are available. So, puzzle number 1. Puzzle number 1 is a thermo Sudoku, which means you're going to have thermometers in them, which is a variant. Can we find one that would just be a standard Sudoku? This night Sudoku is not a standard Sudoku either. Let's look at the domino ones. Puzzle number 1. That's not a standard one. That's not a standard one. That's not a standard one either. It definitely seems to me like there should be a default solution here. Sandwich Sudoku here might be our best bet. Also, it feels like the numbers are off, because this says free pack 0 of 23, but I can't do any of these until I guess I get enough points to unlock the next one. Release order, required stars, release order, or difficulty. Yeah. I have to throw some criticism in here. It would certainly make a lot more sense to have a start here basic Sudoku tutorial puzzle to start. That it totally should be at the top here. And with that, the free packs should really be at the top too, just to get people into it. Because puzzle number 1 here, and that I guess if it's called puzzle number 1, is not a good place really to start, because we don't really have an explanation as far as what thermo Sudoku is, but let's jump into it. Now weirdly, I'm still not hearing any audio, so I think it might be a case that this game has no audio at all. Let's see. Let me see if there's a possibility on that. So I'll leave people to try and solve this. Can I search reviews on Steam's page? Like, you would think that there would be some sound effects or something, but I'm not hearing anything at all. And I'm not seeing anything at all. But then, noticeably, there is no sounds options, and there is video options. So we just don't have any audio playing at all. And when you're a YouTuber doing Cracking the Cryptic type videos, certainly I guess that makes some sense, but it is going to create this weird situation where as a player you're just going to have no background music at all playing, which, if you're going to go with that level of minimalism, then why have the themes be something like this, where you're still not embracing full-on minimalism in that case? That, like, why can't I have just a pure background white if I want white? I still feel like these color gamuts are not good as far as themes go. That one still, it's a fairly sharp range there. Yeah, by default I would assume that the first or second one is probably the right one, and if you go with this dark theme, then it darkens everything here, and they don't really explain that particularly well as far as when you go with the light theme, then everything is light. Compared to Sudoku Universe, though, we have a much better usage of a widescreen interface. I doubt this would work particularly great on a cell phone portrait landscape picture, but because you would then have to squish all of these things out of the way or squish them at the bottom. But yeah, the puzzle is only losing a little bit of space here with the title, and then you have everything over in this section, and then you have full mouse controls for a lot more functions, and then it looks like you have a hint and a smart hint. That may very well be one hint and only one hint. And then I guess I have to explain what a thermometer thermo Sudoku is. First of all, it's going to have the rules of classic Sudoku, which is every row, column, and box must have all numbers from 1 to 9 in it exactly once. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9. And then, well, actually that wouldn't work, because then there would be a 2 here and a 2 here. There needs to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the square. But all of those also have to match. Then it adds the thermometer rule that says numbers must increase as they move along the thermometer starting at the bulb. So this can be a 1, then this can be a 2, a 3, 4, 5, and a 6. Or this could be a 5, and this could be a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9. Actually, it couldn't be a 6 because of that. And so that is going to limit your possibilities quite a bit. This 1, I imagine, is full number mode, not the number 1, and perhaps a number sign should be there. Here we have multiple selection mode, undo, redo, lots and lots of features. Take note, though, that a default Sudoku puzzle has recently been mathematically proven to be unsolvable if there aren't at least 17 hints, 17 pre-baked in numbers into a puzzle. There are exactly 0 baked in numbers into this Thermo Sudoku. So that makes it rather difficult to solve and impossible to solve without the thermometers. So the thermometers are adding extra information to the puzzles, but it is going to be some scripted information. When I was showing this off, if this is a 9, if this is a 8, if this is a 7, if this is a 6, if this is a 5, this can only be a 4, 3, 2, or 1, which, let's see if we can figure out how to do this correctly. Yeah, I've only seen people Cracking the Cryptic play this. I haven't actually done it myself. Three, 4. So center mode, I can do 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a possibility there. And this is full mode. But if I want to do corner mode, it seems like the settings have the corner mode actually taking up all of the corners, framing around in a box. Well, not really framing around in a box, it's top and bottom. Okay. So we probably won't personally want to use corner mode that much. Probably just want to use center mode and just for the visuals of it. But I do want to come back here and see if we can increase the font size to large and see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that is way better. There. But yeah, we know that this can only be 1, 2, 3, and 4, because if this was 5, this would be 6, this would be 7, this would be 8, this would be 9, and then that could be nothing. We can take those same logical steps, and almost certainly we're going to start in this 3x3 segment grid to answer this question. If this was 9, this was 8, this was 7, then this can only be 6, 5, 4. Darn it. It went back to the other mode. Okay, this can only be 6, 5. And because I typed in the wrong thing, it messed up the other one. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is quite a few options there. This could be 7, this could be 8, this could be 9. This could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope, this can only be 4. And in that, I think there's probably another setting here I'd like to tweak. And this is what I really wanted to highlight, is that this is where you would want a Sudoku game, is to be able to highlight things. I want to like see how this looks like. You could just straight up customize some of this too. Let's go back and see what a traditional layout looks like. Traditional layout keeps things at the bottom, and for a portrait screen that might be more helpful. Also, if there was more text, that might be more helpful. I like the number pad layout there. And then I feel like there's probably a way to change this, not that. Now, weirdly, I would think that there would be a way to make the numbers in the notes not just be in a row, but I guess not. It is just going to be in a row always. Okay. This one, as we're back to playing the game and not goofing off. If this is 9, if this is 8, if this is 7, if this is 6, if this is 5, if this is 4, if this is 3, if this is 2, this is 1. So, doesn't that mean then with the longest thermometer in this puzzle, you're being told a lot of information, which when I push this 4 in here, it should take this 4 away. And it might be affecting even that. I don't think it is, though. If it is, it's doing it by some logic that I don't understand. When I put this 3 in here, it's going to take that 3 away. Seems like this is just glowing for no reason, and I don't know why. When I put this 2, it will remove the 2 here and 2 here because they're in the same 3x3 grid. When I put that 1 there, it'll do that. So this has given us 1, 2, 3, well, 9, wouldn't it? Okay? 9 of the 17 solutions you need to solve a Sudoku to begin with. Meanwhile, it's also said that this can only be 3 or 4, and this can only be 5 or 6. Once one of these gets down to one number, we will know these pieces. But for the moment, we should just continue to solve the thermometers and have a 9 here, a 8 here, or imagine that a 9 is here. If this was a 9, then this would be an 8, this would be a 7, this would be a 6, this would be a 5. That tells me only 4, 3, 2, or 1 can be in this bulb. And then if this was a 9, and this was an 8, and this was a 7, and this was a 6, and this was a 5, and this was a 4, that tells me this can only be a 3, 2, 1. And then if this is a 9 and this is an 8, then this could be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. Which none of those give us more of a hint. But we can, just by classic Sudoku, see that a 1 and a 2 is already in this way. So this can't be a 1 or a 2. It can only be a 3 or 4. We can also probably guesstimate that, let's see, how would we select multiple things? Okay. Multiple selection mode. Click on that, click on that, click on that, click on that, and click on that. And then we know that the numbers that can be in the rest of these are going to either be 1 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 and or 9. This one can't be a 9 and can't be an 8 because of, if this was an 8, this would be a 9. This couldn't be anything. So at best it can be a 7. It also can't be a 1 because it has to be bigger than 3 or 4. And if this was a 4, well, if this was a 3, then this would be 4, this would be 5, so it can't be a 5. So we now know it's either 6 or 7. Which, that does give us more information. This one can't be a 5 because there's already 5 in this 3 by 3 grid. Yeah. I'm going to, in the next episode, and we won't do too many of these episodes since there are only a few free-to-play puzzles. I'm going to bring up some background music from, I'll probably just launch Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and play their background music so that this isn't in total silence, because I do find that fairly off-putting. How can this be 3 or 4? Oh yeah, it has to be 3 or 4. Yeah, getting a little confused there. Moving on, I don't know if there's anything more we could have gotten from that, but we can multi-select here, 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 and here, and here. And we can say that it can only be a 1 or a 2 or 3. It can't be a 4, 5, 6, or 7 or an 8 or 9. Now, then we can select these two from that, and we can say, well, it can't be a 1, it can't be a 2, and it can't be a 3, which makes those two either 8 or 9. And then here, because there's already an 8 in this section, we can remove that 8. And here, because there's a 3 in this 3 by 3 grid, we can remove that 3. And then we can continue. And you may not get too much from this, but we know these numbers are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Can't be 7, 8, or 9. And here we can remove the 6 because of that being there. And then at that point, I'm not sure what the next step really should be. This 6 or 7 would mark these two as being either 7, 8 here. Like this could either be 7 or it could be 8. And this can either be 8 or 9 on that part. And then this can be either 6 or 5. And then this can either be either 4 or 5. Which either way means that there is a 5 here. So let's mark all the rest of these as a red 5. Well, let's not do it that way. Let's actually use the red 5 in the corner like that, since we now know those can't be 5s. Okay. In this spot, we can fill in the rest of the spots, and so we know it's either going to be a 2 or a 3 or a 4, but not a 5 or a 6 or possibly a 7, possibly an 8, since this could be 7 or 8, and possibly a 9. Which then, from that information, we can go ahead and remove everything that would be too low. This could either be 6 or 7, really, I think, because this either needs to be, this could be 5, this could be 6, this could be 7, this could be 8. So I don't think I'll really want to do this. That way I want to say this can be either 8 or 9. This can be either 7 or, well, wait a minute. This could be 5, this could be 6, this could be 7, this could be 8. This one here can't be 7. This could be 7 or 8. And then if this is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9. If this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. Regardless, 8 and 9 are not options. Probably one of these two are actually 7, but I'm not 100% sure. We can confirm that. And then for these two, we can remove the 3 because it's here. Oh, whoops. We added a 3 to this spot with this interface. It definitely would take some time getting used to it. And then for these two, you can also remove the 4 because it's already there as a possibility. For this one, we can get rid of the 2 because there's already a 2 there. Can't really do much more. So we're filling in more possibilities. But we're doing it at a faster pace. That being said, it has been 20 minutes according to this timer, and that is going to be a nature of playing a much more complicated Sudoku puzzle. But because of the complications and the extra rules, I think it's also more difficult to get on the wrong path. It's also pretty impossible to click the wrong number. In Sudoku universe, you'd click on the box and then it would make a 3x3 grid of numbers, a number pad like this, in the tiny size of the box. And then you had to either left click or right click to mark, pencil mark, or corner mark something, or to full mark it, where this interface, if you're just going to play mouse only, I think works pretty well. I don't know if this would work particularly well on a Steam Deck unless you could make some kind of special touch input custom profile for one of the two touchpads, or you're going to play with the touchscreen of the Steam Deck to hit all these buttons. But I imagine if you put a little bit of work into it, you can do that. Okay. So the options here are going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. We can then reduce these two by saying it can't be 3. This could be 4, but it can't be 8. So this could be 4, 5, 6, and then this can be 7, and this can be 8 and 9. So 3, 4, 5, 6. But this can't be 8. So let's fill that in. This is either 6 or 7. 6, 7, 8. Which then should mean these two can't. Well, at the very least, this one can't be 4. 3, 4, 5 is a possibility. 4, 5, 6 is a possibility. But 7's not a possibility. This could be 3, 4, or 4, 5, but 6 is not a possibility. Okay. See, when you multi-click here, I'd like to be able to just like right-click and stop the multi-clicking, but you can't. So you have to either come back over here or you'd have to use the keyboard. And if I wanted to get really good at this, I would probably use the keyboard. That would make a lot more sense. I could fill in this square and this square. Probably won't change too much because it could be 1 or 2 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. And then this one is in line with that, so it can't be 8. And that's all that really does. Yeah. In the same way, you can fill in these two. And this can be anything from 2 all the way up to, I guess the easiest way to do this would just to mark everything all the way up to 9, and then select this one and remove 9. So I don't know if that's particularly beneficial. And you probably could do the same thing here, which is to say everything from 4 to 9 can go here, and then we could say no, actually I think it's probably closer to something like this. May not have done this right. No, I didn't. I didn't solve this one right. Let's finish this first, and then we'll go back and correct my mistake. This could be 4 to 2. This could be 4, 2, or 3 as an option. This one could be 3, 2, 5. So in this case, it's going to be groups of 3 options because there was 3 options here. And so then this one could be 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And then this one is going to be 5, 2, 7. Then this one here is going to be 6, 2, 8, and then that is greatly reducing the possibilities. And then this one would be 7, 2, 9. Yeah, it's a way better possibility as far as an option, and we will use this information later. So in this case, if this was 1, this could be 2, this could be 3. Whoops. So actually, that is right here. These two are right because there's just so many possibilities. I think here there probably is a truth in that no matter how you play it, a 5 is going to play here. If this is 9, this would be 8, this would be 7, this would be 6, this would be 5 here. If this was 7, then this would be 6, this would be a 5 here, which means there can't be a 5 here, and there can't be a 5 here. Which means we have a 6. And that seemingly is highlighting any place where there is a 6. I'm not sure I really like that as an option. Like, it seems to bring up the highlight at that point is unnecessary. Right. So I guess the question then to ask is, can we say the same is true for 4? That a 4 has to be on this line. If this was 7, this would be 6, this would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If this was 9, this would be 8, this would be 7, 6. Can't really be a 6, can it? So if it can't be a 6, it would be 9, 8, 7, skipping 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And since we have to skip the 6, that probably means we can't have a 1 here. But we do now know that there is a 4, so we can remove that 4 as a possibility. I do think there probably is some logic to this. Biggest number possible, 9, 8, 7, has to skip 6. Now 5, 4, 3, 2. This can't be a 1. Okay. Yeah, I'm just so used to clicking somewhere and it not selecting anything. And I guess that is the case. If I just clicked in the background, it would deselect things. If you have a 5 and a 4 on this pattern, that probably means that these can't be 4 or 5. Which means we should move the 4 and the 5 as options, which also might eliminate something. If this can no longer be 4, then this can't be 5 or 6 because of the eliminating the 4 and 5. Okay. Which then tells me that this can only be 5, but it can't really be 6, and it can't really be 7. Yeah, I don't think it tells me anything more than that, but it still helps. We might be able to do something more with the 6s on this row. Since this can be a 3 or 4, this can be 3, 4, 5, or this can be 4, 5, which means all of these can't be 5. So let's unmark that. And then if this was 4, 5, 6, or 3, 4, 5, 6, the rest of these can't be 6. Yep. And just the level of pencil marking I can do here and the logic I can do with a better interface, with more assistance, really is a great highlight as to why I thought I could actually succeed much better in playing Sudoku Universe, and definitely is in part why I was fairly disappointed. If this is going to be an 8 or 9, then we can remove the 9s and then click 8 to add an 8 and then just remove the 8s. So you can double click to toggle. Like I added an 8 to the square that didn't have an 8, and then I clicked it a second time to remove the 8 from that. So we're getting the numbers down lower. It is still slow progress. This is a complicated puzzle. At some point, this became 7, and I missed that. Maybe the game assisted me in that way. Once we figured out this is 6, this has to be 7 because this has to then be 8. This has to be 9. Actually, yes. Isn't that the case? Yeah, and that means we can actually solve a lot of this because of that reason. And that leaves you only with the questions of, is this a 4 or this is a 5? It also, I guess, means that this has to be a 5. This can't be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because 6 is already being used. So that's a 5, which means that has to be a 4, which means that has to be a 3, which means that has to be a 2, which means that has to be a 1. Why is that not? Why was that not marked as an option? I may have made a mistake here, but the game is seemingly willing to let me make that mistake. It only leaves the option of a 1 here, and now we have a full column filled in. And we've made a decent amount of progress. We still don't know the 6 or 7 here, but this was either 8 or 9, and because there's a 9 in this segment, we now know that that is an 8, which then forces that to be a 7, which then forces that to be a 6, which then forces that to be a 5. And certainly at this point, we should have more than enough built-in solutions to solve the puzzle like a normal Sudoku. We had 9 from this starting thermometer, and getting this second row gives us 18. You only need 17, hence we have an extra 4, or 5, really. This apparently can't be a 4 because it would be a 4 there, which makes that a 5, which makes this a 6, which makes that a 7, and then makes that an 8, makes that a 9. This still could be a 3 or a 4. Which, yeah. It's almost certainly that this is a 3 or 4, and this is a 3 or 4, so this would be a 7 or 8, and this would be a 7 or 8. Which, yeah, we can probably figure that out later. Where is the next step? Well, we have a 3 here that seems like it's the only option. Why is that the case? Because 1, 2, and 3 would have been the only options from this column, and 1 and 2 are taken up by this row. So that makes that a 3. Which then, this gives me an opportunity to use the highlighter. Makes this 1, 2, and this 1, 2 a color, which we can color and highlight. And what does this button do? I said this 3, 4 and this 3, 4 are going to be a pair. I don't see what the difference is between that and that. Then X would look like that. If we were to make this yellow and do orange in this version of Cracking the Cryptic, that doesn't seem to work. No, it does work. This will let you color multiple things, multiple colors. So you can just add more. And I don't know if you can't literally have every single color colored and do just a full-on rainbow like that, if need be. Now weirdly though, there is no button, and there's clearly room for at least one more button. Let's see if we can clear all this. I guess the easiest way would be to just do that and do that and then take it off. Yeah. But yeah, there definitely is room for one more button to draw a box around multiple connecting numbers. But that's not too far away from just drawing, coloring in certain boxes. And coloring in's not really that necessary. Now this says this could be 8 or 9, and I guess it still could be, because they don't, the thermometers just mean that the numbers have to be larger. They don't mean that the numbers have to be directly touching each other. So this could be 1, 2, then 9. And some of these colors might be perhaps not the best point. This one seems like it can only be 9. Am I sure about that? Well, it can't be 8, it can't be 7, can't be 6, can't be 5, can't be 4, can't be 3, can't be 2, and it can't be 1. So it is forced then to be 9, which then I will trust that that is correct and that that is a 1. Now that was putting in a corner mark because I had multiple selected things. And then that only leaves an 8 and a 6, and a 6 can't be in this square, so that has to be an 8. And then that has to be a 6. Yeah, I definitely have to give this game a 0 out of 10 for music and sound effects. I just can't imagine that you're really supposed to have no sound effect at all. I mean, it's nice if you had the ability to mute things, but to not even bother to put in sound effects. And very often I will complain about like Unity asset flip games and low effort games where they haven't put a lot of work into it, and at the very least, when you are looking at an asset flip game or Unity or a low effort game, they almost always do have some sound effect. Often they're annoying sound effects, but they have something. Obviously this game intentionally has opted to not have sound effects, which is perfectly fine if you're solving the puzzles and talking over them like I am, but it definitely would then demand other people to either play music in the background while doing this. Your average gamer, your average player would want to play music in the background or listen to a podcast, or there should be just a default option of some kind of music. I'd be very interested, in fact, in knowing what a Cracking the Cryptic's selection of music would be. Let's go ahead and just pencil mark the options here. This can either be 2, 3, 2, 3, or says it can't be 5. I don't know why that would be the case. Now, I think that's wrong, because this doesn't inherently have to be a 5. This could be a 4. So let's reset everything here. Take off the 5. That is here. Add a black 5 as a possibility here. Highlight this now, because that's not guaranteed to be a 1-2 pair. Then also say this could be 2, or this could be 3, or this could be 4. Can't be 6, 7, 8, or 9, or 1. Okay. And then I imagine the next step here is to probably just fill in this row. let's see how that goes. This could be a 1. This could be a 2. It could be a 3. It could be a 4. It could be a 5, but it can't be a 6, 7, 8. Then I'm going to ask why can this not be a 1, because that's blocking that. And why can this not be a 2, because that's blocking it. And why can this not be a 5, because that's blocking it. Okay. Then we can remove the 3 in this spot, because that 3 is blocking that. And then we can't do anything in that spot. We can remove the 1, because that's blocking that. And we can remove the 5, because the 5's already in that spot. And boil that down. Let's see. Next step would be to select, I guess, all of these and fill these in. So this could be 1, it could be 2, can't be 3, could be 4, could be 5, can't be 6, 7, 8, could be 9. Then this one can't be 9, because there's already a 9 in this 3x3 grid. This one can't be 5, because there's already a 5 in that grid. If this was 2, could this be 1? Yes. If this was 4, does this have to be 2? No. So that, no information there. Get rid of the 1 because that's there. Get rid of the 2 because it's there. Get rid of the 4 because that's there. So this is either 5 or 9. Get rid of the 9 because that's there. And then we now know that's a 5. And we may be at a point where we almost have enough to just by plain Sudoku solve all the 5s. In fact, I think we may have this to solve all the 5s. So let's come back and address that after we finish what we were doing before. This one can't be 1, can't be 2, can't be 4. And so must be 9. And again, we may have all of the 9s ready to go. Alright. So this can't be 5. We're wrong. What did I do wrong here? Yep. The irony here is I'm going to make yet another episode where I'm going to fail at the puzzle. Even with the extra assistance and the better interface, I'm still going to show myself to be completely inept at solving Sudokus. Okay, the options here is that this could either be 3, or this could be 4, or this could be 7. And something happened where that was marked wrong. But yeah, of the options, 3, 4, and 7 are the only ones left. This one can't be a 5 because there's a 5 here. And this one can't be a 9. Could this be a 9? I think that is a possibility. Okay. So back to 5s. If we have a 5 here, and we have a 5 here, and there needs to be a 5 in this row, and there's already 5 in this 3x3 grid, and there's already 5 in this 3x3 grid, that forces this to be a 5. Okay. And then if this 5 eliminates all this and this 5 eliminates all this, then either these two are 5 or this is 5. If this 5 eliminates all this and this 5 eliminates all this, then either this one or this one is a 5. But I don't think I can do anything more with the 5s. And in Sudoku Universe, you are heavily encouraged to just click on each of these buttons and try and cheat in this way, where that just doesn't even make sense to try and do it that way in this game. Could this be a 6? Yeah, we haven't even filled it in yet, which probably means we should fill in things more. Let's see. The real thing probably to focus in is this 4. If we've taken a 5, then this can only be 4 because, and this could only be 3. So we're assuming we're correct on that. I mean, these are a pair, 2, 3 pair there. And that is supposed to be marked as a 3 there. And then this seems to indicate it can only be a 7. It can't be an 8. And it can't be a 3. Could it be a 4? No. So I'm going to trust it and say that that's a 7. Which then means this is a 9. Which means that's a 4. And 53 minutes in, we've gotten our first full box, which is not really any different than getting a straight line or a straight row, column, or row. But it feels like you've accomplished more by getting a full box. 8 can't be here, 8 can't be here, 8 has to be here. Which then I believe makes that a 1-2 pair. Which means one of those is going to be 8. One of those is going to be 1, and one of those is going to be 2. It can't be 9 or 7. Which means this, which can't be 7, has to be 9. And this has to be 7. So now we have almost this entire top row. And remember, we started this Sudoku puzzle with nothing other than the thermometers. We had no numbers on the puzzle at all. So it feels kind of like a miracle that you would even get this far. And I guess we can highlight that this 1-2 pair also coordinates. Either this is 1 and this is 2 and this is 2, or this is 2 and this is 1 and this is 1. And there's still a lot of room to make progress because we haven't done this row, we haven't done this row, and we haven't done this row. So let's just do this row and fill in the numbers. It could be. It can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. But it can't be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. And I'm picking these numbers based off of just what's in the row. Then individually, we have to go and say, well, 6, 7, 8 in this column don't belong there. And that's all I can do with that one. Same is true for this, so I could have saved myself and highlighted either one of those. But also in this column, we have a 3 and a 9, so can't be 3 or 9 for that one. And then we have a 9 and 8 in the row and a 4 in the column. We also have a 7. And then I'm not trying to do anything really crazy with these two numbers, so we don't want to do anything. I see a 9 in this column, so that's gone. I see a 5, so that's gone. I see a 1 in that column. I also see an 8 in the 3x3 grid, so that's gone. Okay. And yeah, that doesn't feel like that was that helpful, but if you don't pencil mark, particularly in the way this interface works, you're going to not be able to make any progress. Which I would be very interested in seeing somebody just pull out a Sudoku puzzle on paper and look at the puzzle and then solve it all in their mind like a computer would without showing any work or pencil marking. That would be very impressive, to say the least, and at a certain point I would suspect somebody had just memorized the solutions to every single Sudoku puzzle that possibly exists, which I imagine there's trillions, if not quadrillions of them. Possibly an unknown number that we haven't even been able to calculate. But yeah, that certainly is how a computer would do it. It wouldn't typically be programmed to show its work. Let's see, there could be a 1 here in this, there could be a 2 in this, there can be a 3 in this, but there can't be a 4 or a 5. Then we'll go 6, 7, and 8, but not 9. Okay. And then we'll remove the 8 and the 7 because they're in this quadrant, and we'll remove the 3 for the same reason. So then that's 1, 2, 6 as possibilities there, which then this has a 6, so that's got to go. And this one doesn't have anything stopping it. This one loses its 6 possibility because of that, and then 8 because of that. And that's, I think, all we can do for that one. And then this one can lose the 3 because it's in the quadrant, and the 2 and the 1 because it's in a quadrant. And then this one has an 8 here, so it loses that. And then this one, I don't think loses anything more. But I am noticing now that there's a possibility of a 2 here and a possibility of a 2 here. If we could figure out that that was a 3, then this has to be a 2. But we're not quite to that point yet. This might be, yeah, we still have one more row to do. Then we're going to have to start to look for more strategies. So it can't be 1, 2, or 3. Could be 4, could be 5, could be 6, 7, 8, or 9. And then we'll select these two, and we will remove 9, 8, and 7 since there's already 9, 8, 7 in that group. And then in this one, we'll remove 5 and 6, since it's already 5 and 6 in that group. And on this one, we'll remove a 9, a 5, and can't really remove much else. There is a 9 and an 8 and a 4 here. Also, I didn't look at this column, so that means that's a 7. Okay. So basic Sudoku says either this is a 7 or this is a 7 and this is a 7 or this is a 7, so you have a pair of 7s on that. Which, now that we filled everything in, this might be the point to just click on all the numbers and try and solve by basic Sudoku. Which I don't think I'm going to use a hint here, and I'm not sure that the star system is based on any time or whether you use a hint. It may very well just be a case if you solve the puzzle, you get a certain number of stars, and that is that. That would ideally be how I would want it to play out. Let's see, we can't have a 1 here and a 1 here. So I would heavily question like I'd heavily question whether I can do anything more. It doesn't seem like I can. So, 2s. We've got only a couple locked in 2s and way too many things highlighted on 2s. 3s. And see, if you had changed the settings where you click a number after you highlight something, me clicking these numbers would actually be doing something very different. I guess if we have a 3 here and we have a 3 here, that eliminates all these options of 3s, which means either a 3 is here, which there can't be a 3 here because of that, which means that has to be a 3. Okay. Then if I have a 3 coming up here and a 3 coming down here, then one of these has to be a 3. But I'm not sure which it is, because you kind of have a connected line here and a connected line here that needs more work before it would give me solid information. I have a 4 here and a 4 here, and so I'm wrong. I'm wrong about something big. 4 here is wrong at this spot. A 4 here is wrong at this spot. Noticeably, there is a big red square here. On full 4. I'm just hoping I'm right about this. And I probably have screwed up further. Because clearly at some point I marked with a red that these can't be 4s. Which I think probably means this can be a 4. And all my pencil marks are now fairly suspect. Let's power through and see if we can recover from what seems like a pretty devastating mistake. Doesn't look like we can do anything with 5s. 6s. Doesn't look like there's much we can do with 6s. If I could find that this was a 6, then we'd know these two are 6. 7s. 7s, we should have a solution, or we nearly should have a solution, I guess. Either 7 here or 7 here. 8s. Either an 8 here or an 8 here. Is this 8 here the only possible 8? Let's just go and check. It can't be a 1, it can't be a 2, it can't be a 3 or a 4, can't be a 5, can't be a 6, can't be a 7, can't be a 9. It's got to be an 8. Which then means that either this is an 8, which it can't be because of that, or that's an 8. And then that means that's got to be an 8. It's probably best to just come out of multi-selection mode. And now we've done all the 8s, assuming all the 8s are correct. And so it's a little silhouetted out. It's interesting, they're not even adding an hour mark here. That we're just at 68 minutes. It might as well work that way. That means this is a 6. And that's a 7. Which means that's a 7. Or at least we're assuming that's the case. And so all the 7s would be done. Back to the 6s. I think I just marked that accidentally. Yeah. Back to 6s. So, could this be a 6? I'm not seeing anything that says it can't be. Could this be a 6? Not seeing anything that says it can't be. Six. Possibility. What could this specifically be otherwise? And it feels like it can't be a 1. Maybe it's a 2. Maybe it's a 3. But it can't be a 2 or 3 because of it being on the thermometer. It can't be a 7. So, yeah, it has to be a 6. Okay. 6 here, 6 here means that has to be a 6. And we should have a 6 here eliminates these and eliminates these. So either this is a 6 or this is a 6, and this can't be a 6 because of that. So that's a 6. And so that's 3 out of the 9 numbers filled in. But take note that I didn't start using this system, which was basically the only system I could use in Sudoku universe until 70 minutes, roughly 60 minutes into the puzzle. That the other interfaces are way more helpful. Okay, so if we need a 5 here, and this is blocking that, and that's blocking that, and that's blocking that, then that has to be 5. Then if that's blocking that and that's blocking that, that has to be a 5. And no amount of double clicking when you've multi-selected will work there. And let's see, that blocks all that, making this one a 5. And that is all the 5s done. 4s. 4 here, and 4 here. 4 blocking this makes this have to be 4. Undo, undo, undo. That's a lot of undoing. Like, because it turned the 5 to a blank, then it turned it to a 4, and I had to undo a couple times. Right, that's 4, which then makes this 4. I am struggling as I go back and forth between toggling on and off multi-mode. I definitely feel like a mouse button being mapped to that, if you have like a middle mouse click or something, would be helpful. But oh, I hope that doesn't lose any progress there. There is kind of nothing like that I see. That would suck. I would just rage quit if that had undone all my progress. But yeah, it feels like a middle mouse button should, middle mouse click should do something, and it just isn't. Okay, I don't think I can do anything more with the 4s. Let's look at the 3s. May not be able to do anything with the 3s either. But I do see that there's a 9 here that we can deal with. 2s, similar situation where there's not enough 2s on the board. 1s, similar situation. So all the low numbers are, we're having more of a difficulty getting rid of those, which is probably not surprising considering the way thermometers work, in that a thermometer probably has a slightly higher chance of getting rid of bigger numbers than smaller numbers, although maybe not, maybe it's exactly the same. Anyways, if we look at this entire row, we see that this is a 9 just from that rule, also because of the thermometer rule. So then that 9 tells us nothing more, but this 9 and this 9 and this 9 eliminates either this from being a 9 or this being a 9, and this eliminates that from being a 9, which then makes that the only place where a 9 can fit, and then we're done with 9s. And since a 1 can't be here, and the 3 and 4 are here, this has to be a 2. Which I don't think that gets us any further. And since then 3 and 4 are the only options here, and there's a 4 here, that has to be a 3. One thing I would say that is a little annoying about this is if we were doing a classic Sudoku puzzle where there was a hint number, I don't know how they would visually depict it, or if they do visually depict what are the core hint numbers. Maybe they're in gray or something like that, so you can't accidentally click on them and try and change them, or you can't suspect that they are in the wrong place. Okay, that gets us to a 4 spot, and that makes that 2 because that's the only option. which then that makes this 2, and that makes that 3. And then I have a 1 here, since it is only 1, 3, and 4 as options. Which then eliminates this from being a 2. I mean, it makes it a 2. Eliminates it from being a 1. Which then makes this a 1. Which then makes this a 2. Now, notice the highlight on these 3 do not go away when you fill them in. And something's telling me this can't be a 3 because there's a 3 here. So that's got to be a 4, which then makes this your 3, which then makes this your 4. And so we now have another pure 3x3 grid filled in and another pure 3x3 grid filled in, which means, let's see if we can clear the highlight. Not easily. There's no clear all highlight button. Okay. Where are we now? We only have 1s, 3, 2s, and 3s left. Let's see, there's got to be something here. Apparently this can't be 2 because of, let's just click on this box. This can't be 2 because of this, can't be 3 because of this, and it can't be anything higher than 3. So it has to be 1, which then makes that have to be 1, which then makes that have to be 1. Yeah, and comparing this to Sudoku Universe, like, I really feel like I can't be making big mistakes. I think I really am on the right path, and that there's no way I would make it this far without being notified of a mistake. We have only the 3s left. Yeah. And in solving this Thermo Sudoku puzzle, I did make a mistake at one point. There was one misclick compared to Sudoku Universe where I was making 2 or 3 misclicks throughout one puzzle. But even in that one misclick, I was able to recover from it. Maybe I got lucky. Well, I don't know, but it definitely seems to me like they highlighted the mistake earlier in the process before the mistakes compounded on each other, and I was potentially at this point where I would be now and would have found that the very last piece I put in doesn't fit. Because nobody likes that. Nobody likes doing a jigsaw puzzle and then having one piece in the wrong place, and then you try to put in that last piece and it doesn't fit. For the people who have experienced that. We've solved this. 80 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. It's still a fairly complicated puzzle, but we've solved it. Congratulations, puzzle number 1 completed. Our time was 80 minutes and 22 seconds. Our best time is 80 minutes and 22 seconds. They're showing you when we completed the puzzle. Compared that to Sudoku Universe, which in fairness, I will say Sudoku Universe does have a little bit more visual polish to it. Particularly this screen is a little simplistic, but it doesn't show you the final puzzle. In fact, it fades away from the final solution fairly quickly, and that can be annoying, and you can't go back and see the solution of the puzzle. We'll see if you can go back and see the solution of this puzzle, or if you would just have to take a screenshot, which you could do that. You could certainly just take a screenshot right now to get the solution, then play the puzzle a second time by just typing in all of the answers. But if you're going to cheat that way, why not just use an online solver to solve it? It's giving me 2 stars. And the next puzzle it's recommending is 11 Cs, which is worth 4 stars. I don't know if that means the difficulty will be twice as difficult as that. But puzzle number 1 from Sam Campbell Lines, Campbellman Lines, is still here. We can play it again if we wanted to. Let's go ahead and look at what the hint was. The thermo from R3C4 can be completed. So, row 3, column 4, which restricts. How are they getting to this? Why are they calling it row 3? Let's see. 1, 2, 3 row. Okay. Column 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. This thermo can be completed, which would restrict then row 1, column 6, and row 6, which would be here, column 4, and row 6. Column 6? Where's row 6, column 6? Should be right here. That seems like that's odd that they're referencing this as this is row 6, column 6, when it would make a little bit more sense to reference it based on the bulb. But maybe they are specifically saying that the thermo, this one, all the way here, restricts specifically this square and this square and this square. But it's kind of weird then that they're not also mentioning this square and this square. That's hint number 1. Hint number 2 is that 1, 9, and 8 can all be placed in column 8, which would be here. Also 2, 3, and 4, which that's how we solved it. The hint number 3 is the thermo beginning at row 2, column 6 can now be completed if you followed the previous one, the part of the thermo between row 7, C4 and row 7, C2 can also now be completed. There is a 4-3 pair in column 4, and now the rest of the puzzle can be finished. So column 4, there would have been a 4-3 pair somewhere here. I'm not sure we solved it, putting big attention on that. And so you only get 4 hints. It's not just going to walk you through the game. The text went away after I clicked the hints. That's interesting, because then your screen is just like totally missing. But you can, I guess, pop it up and pop it down. But if you were going to do that, then I kind of would like the buttons in the middle if you're going to get rid of the text. And I guess you have to just go all the way back to get to this point with the rules to how to play. Now, what I still would kind of expect is a hint that would tell you something. So let's click Smart Hint. Hidden single column. One can go in the row 5, column 8. Let's see. Are we correct here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there is a hidden single column that says 1 can go there. And that's the only smart hint you can get. And so there must be some kind of mathematical reasoning behind that. Well, you could just make that assumption completely. And I'm not sure why. I guess the logic may be that if all of these have to start with a small number and go to a larger number, there's no way that 1 could be in this group. It's just not going to happen. This could be a 1, this could be a 2, this could be a 1, this could be a 2, this could be a 3. So then that means in this single column at this spot, the possibility that is the only place a 1 could be in this column. Yeah, and I don't think I would have recognized that. Let's see. Puzzle selection menu. And it saves where we are. And then there's a flag now because we've done this puzzle before. Now, as a free-to-play game, it seems to me like we're not going to be able to go too far down the well with this. I'll double check to make sure all this DLC is paid for. I'm pretty sure it all is. So, but for the free packs, it looks like there's 22 more puzzles, and I kind of think I want to do them all. But I will turn on some background music, and I'll double check to make sure that there isn't something wrong with the app and it actually is playing music. I imagine it isn't. Otherwise, there would be some kind of background sound. So we have 29 more puzzles plus another 3 sample domino puzzles. Each of them somewhat in the more varied way of getting different variants of Sudoku puzzles. The 2 criticisms I can make about Cracking the Cryptic, which they should have really called their first app Cracking the Cryptic instead of one of their latest apps, since that's the name of their YouTube channel. The main complaints here is that you don't have a tutorial basic Sudoku. You do have how to play instructions, which is better than Sudoku Universe, and almost in every way this is better interface than Sudoku Universe. But it still would be helpful to have a tutorial. It definitely would be helpful to have some background music playing, even if it was just sampling 2 or 3 songs, like Sudoku Universe did, where, well, they didn't sample the songs, they played 3 songs in a loop, and it wasn't even very good music for puzzle solving, but it's still better than nothing. But when you get down to the actual core of solving a Sudoku puzzle, Cracking the Cryptic's interface is just so much better. It is way, way better than doing it with pencil and paper, I would argue, and definitely the way to go. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.